Welcome to Webinar 2, After Publishing. Today, you'll learn how to create reports, create filters, analyze your results with filters, cross-tabulations, and comparisons, design your reports with different layouts, export and download your reports, work with live reports, and do follow-up actions. In front of you, there's a quest named Webinar 2 Exercise Employee Survey. This quest is published and it has received 58 responses so far. By clicking on Take me to the results, we're directed straight to the reports pane. And as you can see, there's already a report lying here. The Webinar 2 Exercise Employee Survey. Note that you can have several reports. You can create as many as you like. And it's not an issue to select and delete a report. You can always create new ones. And in fact, the system will automatically create a new report once you leave the reports pane while it's empty and go, for example, back to the designer and to the reports pane again. The automatically generated report reappeared. And if I want to inspect this and look what's inside the report, I can click on the name of the report. And this gives you a list of all the questions inside the report to the left. And in the middle part, there's the display, and you can even change the display settings, add series, and change the labels in the display. So if I click on question 2 now, have you held an employee appraisal with manager this year? I can see how this plays out for my respondents. There's 53.4% that have held their employee appraisals, and there's 46.6% that did not, out of a total of 58 respondents. So if I want to get the exact number, I can go to the display settings and using show data as, select values instead and save. So this returns that 31 employees did hold their employee appraisals while 27 employees did not. Using the chart type options in the display settings, you can select other chart types, for example the pie or the bar chart type. Whenever you find that you're content with a certain setup of display settings, you can use the apply to other questions to select other questions. Note that question number 6, do you have any comments other than what you've answered so far, is grayed out. And this is because this is a open answer question, so you wouldn't be able to create graphs based on the text in Essentials. I'm going to hit apply to other questions. And I will expect to open question 1 and find the same display settings. There's also other useful settings in the display settings. By using sorting, you can modify the sorting of the various answer alternatives. So for example, if I wanted this to be sorted alphabetically, I can change from default order to alphabetically A to Z. It gives me accounts first, then consultancy, and so forth. The show response count in chart gives you the response count in the bottom of the chart. This is useful if you, for example, use a lot of routing in your quest so that not all respondents have answered each question. And this is a quick way to inform the reader of your report about how many respondents each graph is based on, how many number of responses that is. Show statistical table. That gives you a table in the bottom of the chart with the number of respondents, the average, the standard deviation, as well as the median. You can also, if you have a lot of alternatives, you can click on Show Chart Legend, which replaces the labels of each question alternative with a number and then a legend in the bottom. You can also change the chart colors by either using a single color or select another type of color schemes. So let's see, for example, we can use the cold one. And again, if you find settings that you like and want to use on other questions, use the Apply to Other Questions button. Note that you can also modify the sorting of the questions in your report by clicking and dragging. You can even show the same question twice with, for example, different display settings by first duplicating it and then changing the display settings. And you can you can delete the questions that you don't need, so that adds focus to the results from the questions that you want to focus on. There's even the option to remove certain answer alternatives. Take, for example, my question 5 here. Which of the following internal courses could you imagine attending? Say, for instance, that I didn't want to report on the other alternative here that 31 respondents have selected. I can select answer alternatives to show and then untick the box for other. So let's see if I update the page. You can see that the other bar is gone. If you take away certain information from your report, it's always nice to be able to comment on that, and make the reader of the report aware of that some alternatives are missing. So, for example, answer alternative other. Like this. And this message, answer alternative other, with 31 responses, is currently not showing. This will be added to this graph in either my live report or the static exports. If I, for example, retrieve a summarized report now. There's also the option to change labels. So if you want to give the readers of your reports a bit more precise description of what data is showing, I could easily use the label editor and modify this text. And if whenever you make certain modifications, it's useful to also notice the reader of the report about what how the question was originally spelled out. So I'm gonna try to align this text, and then I can use the label editor. So this can, for example, be course, so internal course demand amongst the employees 2019. So this gives a bit more concise and precise description of what data is showing. You can also use the label editor to modify answer alternatives whenever you want to effectivize, or say that you have some rather long answer alternatives and you want to shorten them down where you could. So if that is relevant to you, you can use the label editor for that. So question number 3 here is a matrix question. Right now it's showing each of the alternatives, but so the matrix questions, the main questions, is often a bit more easier to read with the average selection in show data as. So on a scale from 1 to 6, my respondents on average have chosen 3.8 on the question whether or not they look forward to going to work. And so forth. So in matrix questions, the statistical table is particularly useful because you get both the average and the median as well as the standard deviation. Whenever you choose to go with the main matrix question, you could consider deleting the sub questions, unless if you're really interested in the various results. And you should notice how, since that I've changed the sorting, the disagree completely comes after the agree completely, and I would prefer to use the default order here. And I guess this applies to the other submatrix questions as well. And maybe also the main question. But yeah. So whenever you're content with the report and you want to share the results, you can either export them or prepare a live report. Before doing an export, it's often useful to give the report a good name. So by opening the report settings here, you're able to rename your report. For example, the main report, or so employee survey 2019. And if you use a live report, this is also where you change the theme and the layout of the live report, and of course make it public if you want to share it with your coworkers. So if I want to export my main report now, I can click on the export button, and as you'll see, there's a whole menu of formats and types of exports. The summarized reports will give you both graphs and tables, whereas the raw data output will give you only the numbers from your results. The metadata will actually give you both a summarized Excel version and the raw data in the same spreadsheet, whereas all answer forms will give you the results in a consecutive order. So the report for one page, for example, per respondent, and so forth. So if I order Acrobat PDF version now, you're able to choose either to order the report by an email attachment or a download link. And this is the download link is by far the easiest and fastest way to get your results. You're able to change the orientation of the report, whether or not to include free text. If you have a raw data report, it could be useful to display the email or phone numbers of the respondents, and you can choose whether or not to export both charts and tables only, charts only, and to display the name of the filters, or even override the filters. Because of me selecting the downloadable link, I can now retrieve my report from the reports pane, and by using the view available exported files, I'm able to retrieve my report without even checking my mailbox. So this is the PDF version of my report. And if I wanted to make some modifications now, after reviewing the results, I could easily just head back to reports and modify my main report. If I wanted to share this report as a live report, I would have to make sure in the report settings that the status was public. I could choose to password protect it or not, and I can copy and share the live report URL. To read it myself, I could follow the link. Or I can open the preview live report button. My main report is currently showing one graph or one question per page. So if I wanted to change this, I could go to report settings and then choose the layout, single page, and then, for example, the 2-column layout. I'll preview the live report again. Now I get everything on the same page and 2 graphs, or 2 columns in the page. And here you can see my additional text to the question that I modified a bit. So it's the internal course demand amongst the employees 2019 graph, and I can see what this question is based on. Which of the following internal courses could you imagine attending? And that the answer alternative other with 31 responses is currently not showing. And of course, if I wanted to share this report, I could copy this link and distribute it in my preferred way. So you have also the option to change the theme for a live report. If you head to Managers and Theme Manager, so in the Theme Manager, you're able to create a new report theme. And this will let you set certain properties on the left side and then preview it on the left side. This could be my webinar 2 report theme. I can add a logo from my media library. I'm gonna add the Questback logo and see how it previews. Maybe make it on the right side. Align it there. And I'm gonna try to get the same background color as the logo has. So I did some preparations and found out that this logo is actually retrieved from here. So I'm gonna use the same colors as I've got here, and the RGB values for that is 22, 38, 45, and then 1. And now my heading disappeared, so I'm gonna get a white text here. So let's see. Apply. And it reappeared. So you can also change the fonts for texts and the sizes if you like that, or even style it with custom CSS codes. So I'm gonna head back to the Quest now. Select my report, and actually I'm just gonna enter the report settings from the report menu, and then find my webinar 2 report team. So if I want to preview it with the new theme, I can open the live report preview from here, and you'll see the same report with the new report theme, including my logo and the background color and the white text on the heading. If I wanted to create more reports with filters, I can head to the filters page. And by using the new button, I'm able to choose either a value filter or an interval filter. So value filters are filters that group your respondents based on what they've answered, or eventually what properties they've got in their background data if you've added respondent data to your invitations. And the interval filters are filters that group respondents based on when they answered. So if you've had a quest live for a certain period of time, you could group certain respondents based on when in that time frame they answered. For example, this year, last year, this month, last month, etc. So I'm gonna demonstrate some value filters. I click on new value filter, and I'm offered to either create one or more single condition filters or create a multi-condition filter. The single condition filters will create one filters per answer alternative, whereas multi-condition filters will group respondents based on what they've answered on one question over several alternatives or more questions over several alternatives. So if I wanted to create single condition filters based on departments, I can select all to get one filter per department. I'm able to give the filters more precise names. So department, then I can paste the department prefix. And this returns a list of the filters that I've created. I could also choose to combine some of the departments. For example, the consultancy and support department and the sales and accounts department. If I wanted to group respondents from both the two different departments. So new value filter and create a multi-condition filter. This will be based on question 1 as well, and then support and consultancy. Departments, support, and consultancy. As well as the opposite alternatives. Notice that you can also use other operators. So I could have said none of and then support consultancy to get a filter based on respondents from these two departments. So this condition is the same essentially as this condition. In which department do you work? None of, support and consultancy, and any of, in which department do you work? Accounts and sales. This is exactly the same thing. So now that I've got my filters on departments, I can head back to reports. open and, for example, duplicate the main report. Then name it Employee Survey 2019. Results from. And if I wanted to get several reports based on the filters, I could batch copy this this report. So batch copy, and then selecting all these filters will give me one report per department or group of departments. I'm just gonna select and create the report for the accounts now, and on the next page I'm able to rename it. So and in this results from accounts report, I can see on question 1 that there's only respondents from accounts here, and how they state their job satisfaction. So this is only 14 respondents instead of the 58 respondents from the whole quest. So in series, you can say that, see now that the value filters department accounts is chosen because of the batch copy, that is. And in this particular report, the question 1 has no variation. It's only accounts respondents, so I might as well delete this question. And if I were to batch copy more results based on the departments, I would remove the question 1 from the template report, Employee Survey 2019 results from. Note that you can also use cross tabulations to be able to get comparisons across departments, for example. So if I head to series now on question 1 and add series, I can add the batch add and cross tabulation based on question 1, and cross tabulations does not require filters. So I can see now that consultancy, accounts, and sales and support get their own graphs here. And if I apply to other questions, I can open question 2 and see whether or not the people from accounts, consultancy, sales, and support have held their employee appraisals or not, as well as the total. So for cross comparisons, it's often better to use the chart type column, so that each of the departments, you're able to read the results per department quite easily. And of course apply to other questions whenever you find the display settings that work better. So this will now be the employee survey cross tabulated on department. And same thing with the layout and status if you want to share the report as a live report. And again, question 1 isn't that interesting for me. So if I preview the live report, I can see now quite fast how the different departments state their job satisfaction, and how the demand for internal courses varies across department, for example. Okay, so you can also say that you wanted, for example, to compare certain you would like to focus on some departments only. So by duplicating my main report, I could name this report employee survey 2019, and then comparison between support and consultancy. So in this report, I would like to add series and comparisons between 2 departments only, and not include the total. So I'm going to choose the value filter sales, support, and then add a series and a comparison for consultancy, and then apply this to other questions. Note how question 3 is not compatible with the series. That is copied from here, but I could manually add the series on when inside question 3. So this table isn't that interesting to me, but I can open the have you held an employee appraisal, and so it looks like I lost my value filter, at least my comparison. So let's see, can save and then add this to the other questions. And then again, the chart type column is a bit easier for such comparisons, and maybe also default order, and for example the averages. And whenever you're content with the question settings, use the apply to other questions to copy them over. So if I wanted to see whether or not the employees look forward to going to work, I can see that the support respondents are a bit less eager to go to work than the consultancy employees. Head back to reports and open and look at the list now. Whenever you have made a lot of reports and you want to export them, you can mass export everyone by selecting them and then export and then choosing your preferred format. The same thing, I recommend the download link for an easy access. And they're returned here in the view available exported files. And another perk of using the send as downloadable link delivery method is that this list of exported files is kept here in the view available exported files pane. So unless you delete certain reports here, you can always revisit this page and download them again if you need them on another computer or for some reason that you've lost them. This whenever you export reports, you're also able to send them to colleagues. So if you want that, it might be useful to press export, find your preferred report type, and then, for example, use the delivery method send report as email attachment, and then your colleague. This is the basics of reports, really. If you ever find that you have any questions about reports, there's also guides in our community. So if you press on community and then start typing reports, for example. There's a quite extensive guide how to use reports that goes through step by step every feature of the reporting function in Essentials. If you want to do follow-up activities on your respondents, you can visit the follow-up pane and then find your respondents. If you want to find the respondent based on a particular answer that you found particularly interesting and you want to continue the dialogue, for example, with that respondent, you can select the column to find, for example, the question that the respondent answered well, and then select that respondent and press New Case. Give it a good subject. Thank you for your response. And then, for example, insert the Q&A tag from the particular response. I really appreciated your response. And you can even change the formatting here. Make it italic, for example. And use tags where you have, if you have them with name, for example, if you have that in respondent data. And then invite the respondent to further the dialogue. So let's see. Then, of course, save it and by sending a case, the respondent will receive a mail to their personal email box, and they will be able to click on Give Feedback and open and come to a page that looks like this. And they would be able to chat with the Essentials user and answer on their case. And you can also assign cases to other colleagues. And you can even follow up on multiple responses at once. So say, for instance, that I wanted to reach out to all employees in the consultancy department. I can at once write an email to all the 10 respondents and follow up on their answers. Note that if you use notification, you can automate this process of following up respondents by always sending out emails to a particular group of respondents based on their answers, and even send that notification to non-Questback Essentials users so that they can follow up on the respondents. Whenever you have your follow-up dialogues, you can monitor them in the cases view. So whenever there's new responses from respondents coming in, it'll show a small mail icon under the read status, and you can see what users that have been in touch with what respondents, or assigned to some respondents. If you for example if you have your notifications sent out to particular users, like the HR@company.com assignee that I assigned this case to. So this here, my HR@company.com contact received this mail. One of our employees expressed dissatisfaction with their working conditions based on this notification. Let's see, notifications. Notifications. And here's the follow-up. Employee dissatisfied with working conditions. So this was sent to the address hr@company.com as well as my personal address. So if hr@company.com gave feedback to the dissatisfied employee, this would have shown under cases, and in this particular case, in this view here. And in that way, the respondent and the HR person could have continued a dialogue to work through the matters. And in follow-up, you can also log and monitor the log of how many messages have been sent out and the status of the cases whenever you use them. And you can also filter responses on time, so today or this week, for example, and choose amongst all value filters as said. So that's everything for the after publishing activities. Make sure to visit our community whenever you want to learn more. So all types of reporting activities is well documented in our Essentials FAQs under Reports. And there's even some articles on the follow-up sections. Thank you for your time and have fun working with Essentials.